I think that all universities, whether they're research-intensive universities or predominantly teaching universities, but with research distributed through them, I think they all need a policy about research data. And that's partly because the funders themselves are asking the institutions to take responsibility for the data that are produced from the grants that they funded. So the institution, not the principal investigator or the researcher, signs up to the grant that's accepted. So there is an institutional responsibility for the research. And also because researchers are mobile, very successful researchers are very mobile. And so unless there is a long-term home for the data that they produce, there's a risk that that data is lost as they transit from Europe to the States to Australia and back. So the research data outputs need to reside there. I think that there's an increasing recognition in the higher education world that research results that have been paid for by the public purse should be available to everyone. And I think that universities are the best placed to ensure that that happens, that they can ensure the confidentiality where necessary and the appropriate use of the research outputs. So there is an institutional requirement to manage research data into the long term. And actually, if you look at some of the areas of current interest, like climate change, etc., the research data that are being used are hundreds of years old. So residing with the individual researcher, I think actually on those grounds is not realistic. So the institution needs to provide a place for the longevity of data and its preservation so that it's accessible into the future. And the researcher and the institution need to work together. And so therefore you need a research data management policy that specifies the responsibility of the institution and the responsibility of the researcher. Because the researcher will devise the data collection at the beginning. They will decide what data they want. They will capture those data. They are the only ones who know what they mean, and therefore the only ones who can write the metadata, write the intelligibility words around them, and then can hand on the finished, polished product that will be usable by others to the institution for its long-term keeping. And the research data management policy defines those different responsibilities: the responsibility of the institution, the responsibility of the researcher. Not all researchers are funded by external bodies. Many researchers in social science, and especially in arts, humanities areas, actually are not funded in the research council and large charity sense. Indeed, they may not be funded at all by an external group. And so therefore there are no terms and conditions for them for their data applied from outside, and they actually perhaps the least technologically able will also need somewhere a place into which those data are put. I mean, the University of Edinburgh has a strong interest in openness of research outputs, and research publications and now research data are part of our mindset. And so therefore we needed, as a university, we need a way of setting standards for ourselves and for our PIs about how we're going to handle research data. And so we've been talking with other institutions who've got a common view that you need a policy to guide your work. And so from a university point of view, we decided that setting the policy first was the most urgent thing for us, and then we would work out the implementation plans to follow suit. So we have recently passed through our committee structure and now been signed off by court a research data management policy for the University of Edinburgh. I think we are the first university in the UK to have one, but I don't think we'll be the first for very long, because I think all universities like us will establish a research data management policy for themselves in the very near future. And I think actually in reality they will all look very similar, because in many respects they are common sense words that we're using about how to manage research data now and into the future.